Hello, welcome to the Richly or Poorly Show. My name is Dr. Stephen Dawson, and I'm your show host. Thank you for joining me. Please visit shdawson.com/podcast and click on the link Offer to learn about the Richly or Poorly Show. Here you can familiarize yourself with the show. Please listen to, follow, and like the show on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and wherever you listen. And please remember to leave the show a nice review. Please share the show with your friends. Send them the link to my podcast webpage and offer to help them set up their device to subscribe to the show. Finally, please continue to email your questions and comments about the show to service@shdawson.com. The show's motto is unmistakable. Richly is goodly. Please consider how you define the term good as we journey through life together in your pursuit of defining the term richly in your life. Today, we will begin our study of 4 terms that are inseparable from one another. We will then move to consider the 4 terms against the first principle I have found to be as paramount, undeniable, and non-negotiable to living life more richly. Finally, we will apply what we cover today to the term wealth. All definitions presented here on the show are resident in the public domain as public knowledge, so there's nothing proprietary contained within these definitions. I urge you to review the definitions presented in the 2 previous episodes as you consider the 4 terms I present to you now. The term worldview is a singular term. It is a noun. A noun states an attribute of a person, place, thing, or idea. Worldview is what a person believes. There is no requirement to prove any part of the belief. The person does not even have to prove their worldview to themselves. They simply believe in their worldview. The term ethics is a plural term. It is a verb. A verb is an expression of an action, state, or a relationship between 2 things. Ethics is the total set of actions of a person. The ethics of a person that do not match the worldview of the person is a contradiction in statements from the person. Specifically, they do not do whatever it is they believe. The term morality is a singular term. It is a noun. Morality is conforming to a set of rules of right conduct. It is a list of a person's worldview and ethics combinations. Morality is beyond a person, as a person's worldview necessitates that others conform to their definition of morality. The morality of a person that does not match the worldview and ethics combination of the person is a contradiction in statements from the person. Specifically, they do not follow the rules of right conduct that they profess they believe in by acting as they do. Finally, the term virtue is a singular term. It is a noun. Virtue is the set of items at the top of a person's morality list. I urge you to ponder these terms over the coming days. We will consider them during each episode of our time together. The first principle I have found is paramount, undeniable, and non-negotiable to living life more richly is understand your data life cycle. So let's take that through the 4 terms. Let's consider that principle to the term worldview. All data that comes to a person impacts their worldview by either building it up or tearing it down. The data either comes to you or you go and get it. A person avoiding the data for any reason means the person is not ready to receive the data. Not ready as in fear, fatigue, or having other tasks of greater importance to accomplish. How does understanding your data life cycle impact your worldview? Ethics. Acting out a worldview, which is ethics, is the same as the second part of Principle 1. You group the data as you see best. You are then ready to analyze whatever it is you have available to you at that moment in time and see if you can get some knowledge out of the data. It is at this point you separate fact from the truth. So ethics involves a continual refinement of our actions in some way, either great or small. Changing ethics means changing one's worldview, whether the change is acknowledged or not. How does understanding your data life cycle impact your ethics? Morality. Arrogance does not help anyone in any way to understand their data life cycle. Learning is an act of humility. Evaluating data is a learning experience. Forming the understanding into morality means it is so important that not only does that person need to do it, but they also hold the worldview that the rest of the world must believe it is moral. Must, as in need. More on arrogance and humility 4 weeks from today. How does understanding your data life cycle impact your morality? And finally, virtue. My list of virtues has changed many times over the years. It does for anyone pursuing the truth. It is due to more data, more analysis, and more separation of facts from the truth. Changing the list of virtues means it is best that I tell those who care about me that the list has changed. It also could mean apologizing to them about realizing a declared virtue was not either as important enough to be a virtue or was a fact and not the truth. It means asking them to forgive you for the error. Forgiveness also means forgiving oneself for the error. More on forgiveness 4 weeks from today. How does understanding your data life cycle impact your virtue? Wealth. We discussed wealth last week. It is a plural term. It is a noun. Wealth is a great quantity or store of money, valuable possessions, property, or other riches. So let's connect the 4 terms presented today by applying them to the pursuit of wealth. Worldview. Knowing what a person believes is the starting point of their actions. Consider how knowledge and technology have each impacted the construct of any worldview through the ages. Do you value your worldview as a form of your wealth? I value my worldview as a form of my wealth. Ethics. I cannot imagine not doing what I believe to profess my beliefs. Do you value your ethics as a form of your wealth? I value my ethics as a form of my wealth. Morality. I try to find agreement with anyone when possible. If not, I will leave it alone and move on in life. Ignoring a person means they are somehow less of a person. Doing so is demeaning, so I do not ignore people. We agree to disagree. I do not push my morality on them, and I have no interest in having their morality forced on me. My great-grandmother came to the United States from Germany in 1938. She came to live with my grandparents. Her visa to stay in the United States was renewed annually, except for 1944. She was deported from the United States back to Germany in May of 1944. We never heard from her again. A family member looked into things decades later. My great-grandmother ended up on the Soviet side of the Berlin Wall. She seemed to live a pretty good life, all things considered, of many decades long after returning to Germany. I cannot imagine being deported during a world war into a combat zone as an elderly woman. Do you value your morality as a form of your wealth? I value my morality as a form of my wealth. And finally, virtue. I am not upset about what happened to my great-grandmother. I am sad to think of the events and their impact. It is hard to consider what happened, but the bigger picture shouted the message, both loudly and clearly, that choices had to occur that were all unpleasant. If I cannot define something as moral, then I cannot add it to my list of virtues. I don't know what I would have done if I were president of the United States in 1944. So I cannot know what was moral because I'm unable to know what I would have done. It is another example of not having all the facts and not understanding the data life cycle set before Franklin Roosevelt 81 years ago. I can say I have thought deeply about the matter of my great-grandmother many times over the years. Do you value your virtue as a form of your wealth? I value my virtue as a form of my wealth. Well, that's it for today. Richly is goodly. Are you understanding more about the terms richly and goodly in your life and how you want to apply them in your life? Please consider all you've heard from me today. Try to settle in your mind my role in your life. Doing so will help you be ready to continue your journey with loads of joy and excitement about the good results in your life gained from experiencing all I have to share with you. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Richly or Poorly Show. I've enjoyed presenting to you today. Until the next episode, I hope you will be safe and join me next week. Until then.